Okay, so we're going to talk about the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So what you're going to do is you want to pause the video here and write down this stuff so that you can just pay attention. When you're done writing it down, unpause it. Okay, so we're talking about the converse of the Pythagorean theorem here. So, and we're going to talk about what we're using it for. But first, there's two reminders about the Pythagorean theorem. Two things we know about the hypotenuse. Number one, it is opposite the largest angle, which in a right triangle, the largest angle is 90 degrees. That's what makes it a right triangle. And it's also the largest side. All right, so the hypotenuse is the largest side, and it's opposite the largest angle. The other two smaller sides are the legs. So really that's the triangle inequality, which is, I'm reminding you of that the largest, that's what I'm saying down here, that the largest side is opposite the largest angle. So let's look at, if I give you, the goal is if I give you the lengths of three sides of a triangle, can you tell me if it's a right triangle or if it's an acute triangle or an obtuse triangle? So let's look at this animation here. I've set this angle so that you can see the measure of angle B is 90 degrees. It's almost 90 degrees. We're just going to call it 90, that green angle. And the side opposite, AC, is the largest side then. And so when B is 90 degrees, we call AC the hypotenuse. What if I take and I make that angle smaller than 90? What happens to my largest side? It gets smaller, right? So it's still the largest side if B is in fact the largest angle. But it's still the largest side in this case. But what happens to angle B? If I make my hypotenuse smaller than what it was, then angle A becomes small. I'm sorry, angle B, the one that was a right angle, becomes smaller than a right angle. It becomes an acute angle. So when the largest side of the triangle is smaller than my hypotenuse should be, then it's an acute triangle. If I bring this back to 90, right about there, okay, notice that the hypotenuse is then larger than that. So what I want to do is, well, let's look at the other situation, sorry. If I make my hypotenuse even longer, what happens to the angle opposite? It was a right angle, now it's bigger than 90. So when the largest side is bigger than my hypotenuse, my angle across from it's going to be bigger than 90. That would make it an obtuse triangle. So that's how we do this. Let's look at an example. I'll do red. All right, so here's some side values. I'm not going to do what they asked me to do here. Actually, let's just jump down to some of these examples. For the following problems, first determine whether a triangle can be formed with the given sides. If a triangle is possible, then classify the triangle as right, obtuse, or acute. So I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem. I have to identify which one's the hypotenuse. The 15, because it's the largest side. So I'm going to take the legs, and I'm going to find out what the hypotenuse should be with those legs. So it's going to be 9 squared plus 12 squared. So it's going to be 81 plus 144 equals c squared. Then when I add those, I get 225 equals c squared. C is going to be equal to, I'm going to square root both sides. C is equal to 15. So that means with those legs, my hypotenuse is 15. Now I compare the largest side. So I shouldn't have called this hypotenuse to start. It's the largest side. Is it in fact the hypotenuse? Yes, because it's equal to the hypotenuse when I do the Pythagorean theorem. So in this case, the angle opposite is 90 degrees. That makes it a right triangle. Let's look at 3, 4, and 6. Oh, so I say type, it would be a right triangle. I'm not talking about how it's possible or not. We've already covered that, and I'll tell you that in class. Again, here's my largest side. So I go 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. So I get 9 plus 16 equals c squared. I get 25 equals c squared. I square root both sides. My hypotenuse is 5. My largest side is 6. So if the largest side is bigger than my hypotenuse, that means the angle is bigger than 90, which makes this an obtuse triangle. Thank you.